This little project called the National Wrestling Alliance Rebirth is coming to fruition. These 3 letters carry more and more weight because there's nowhere else in this business you'll find greater passion, greater intensity, greater courage, greater commitment, greater sheer guts. This is the NWA.
Hey, what's up everyone? This is GEORGIO, your friendly neighborhood YouTuber slash podcaster, and I'm back with another episode of Beyond Wrestling. And on this particular episode, I'm going to be talking about the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. More specifically, their rise to power in modern professional wrestling today. I'm going to be talking about the history. I'm going to be talking about what they got going on currently. Most importantly, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts as a fan of their style, because they represent the old school way of wrestling. And in my honest opinion, the NWA is the foundation of professional wrestling, because they've been going on since the 1940s and 1950s. The National Wrestling Alliance has an illustrious history in professional wrestling, and I feel like the world needs to know more about it. And as you may have heard at the beginning of this video, what Nick Aldis said at the end of that little promo video, NWA represents passion. It represents a love of the honor. It represents, honor and tradition, in professional wrestling. Most importantly, legacy, and yeah, I might stumble over a couple of words, but hey, I'm excited because that's what the NWA makes me feel whenever I see them on their YouTube show, NWA Power. And and I love what they've been doing lately, with the Crockett Cup and everything, and it's just been very exciting to see that unfold. They've been having some amazing matchups on the NWA Power show. We've seen Nick Aldis versus Tim Storm for the NWA World's Heavyweight title, which was an amazing matchup. They even just shared with us a clip, a matchup from 2018 where it was Tim Storm versus Josephia Saga, and it was an empty arena matchup. This was before all this quarantine stuff that we've been a part of and everything. And that match was sick. And I like the little gif that they've been sharing on social media about where they show Tim Storm throwing the table halfway across the arena into the ring. And man, I'm telling you guys, and everyone's talking about WWE, they're talking about AEW and all of that, but if you're gonna have a wrestling conversation talking promotions to recommend for people to watch, I will definitely recommend that you watch NWA Power, because especially if you love the old school way of professional wrestling, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I like about NWA. Is old school, and it's still unique and different than what's out there. They do place a lot of importance on the storytelling aspect of professional wrestling, and almost everyone there has stepped their game up in promos. Everyone knows what they're doing. It's not super heavily scripted, and that's always a great thing, because in my honest opinion, you cannot heavily script professional wrestling, because when you do that, it's gonna come out corny, cartoonish. It's gonna be boring, and you're gonna want to skip the show, and you want to change the channel, you know what I'm saying? And you don't want to do that, and I feel like when you watch NWA Power, you will not be bored. There's some very entertaining characters on there. Like I mentioned, they got Nick Aldis. Eli Drake is a really great promo. Eddie Kingston cut some dope promos as well. You got the Rock and Roll Express, which you will be seeing, them in in this little tribute video, if you want to call it that. Or I call it educational. And I like what James Storm is doing there. Aaron Stevens is really, really entertaining with this black belt or karate gimmick or whatever that is. And Allison Kay is killing it. She's on fire, with her promos and stuff, with her in-ring work. And then, of course, the lovely Melina, who we've been seeing a lot of on the show, and she's just been on a roll. And Thunder Rosa, the World Heavyweight Champion, for the women's division, and I will be using some clips from the NWA YouTube channel, and of course this is all just for educational purposes. Some of it, this is going to be going back to right before NWA Power had started. And of course, that's when you saw, Allison Kay is the women's champion and all of that, and Nick Aldis and everything. And so, and I wanted this just to be a fun little video. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now, and I'd rather not us talk about it because there's enough negativity going on out there. And the one thing that I love about the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, is they don't represent negativity. They represent fun. They represent positivity, good vibes, good energy. Whenever you see a matchup on there, you feel like you're truly there, even if you're just watching at the house, and then of course, we got to go back because, Billy Corgan, he helped, he pretty much co-founded this thing, co-founded, should I say. He co-founded, the National Wrestling Alliance after, it kind of just been thrown away. It's kind of been just buried off somewhere. And Billy Corgan believed in what this brand represents. And then of course he got with David Lagana, and David Lagana, he has a lot of experience working with big wrestling promotions, mainly WWE, and he has a lot of experience on what works and what doesn't works. And then of course with the vision of Billy Corgan, who's an excellent musician for the rock band Smashing Pumpkins. And this guy, he knows how to listen to his fans, and he has a passion for this, and he's doing it out of love. It's not 100% for greed and stuff. And I know all the craziness that's going on right now in the world, and what I love about the National Wrestling Alliance is they're still gonna pay their talent, even though they're not wrestling, even though they're not recording any shows as of now. They still are paying their talent, and they also have some awesome t-shirts right now that you can buy where you can help support the talent. It's got the We Are Power, and I'll have a link to in my bio of this, or the description of this video or this podcast episode, where if you want to go and support them and buy some of their cool merch, you can definitely do it. They got all kinds of affordable options there for you guys, especially if you love real, true, good professional wrestling with love and passion behind it, with good storytelling, because that's what they give you. And also, I want to talk about how I discovered NWA Power, because when I first discovered NWA Power, it was actually somebody on my timeline had retweeted a promo that Eddie Kingston had cut, and it was really, really entertaining, and I had so much fun, watching that, because he made you believe every single word that he had spoken in that promo. And this was when he had Homicide, from LAX, and they was in this really cool tag team feud at the time. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa. And then I saw the old school promo set that they was using, and I was like, my goodness, man, that's what I like. You don't need an extravagant arena or set to put on a good wrestling show. And I like the old school. I like how they had the announcer guy, holding his microphone up to, Eddie Kingston, and, just letting the professional wrestlers do their thing, and that guy, that was holding the microphone. He's really cool and everything. And mind you guys, I'm still discovering more things about NWA Power. I've been trying to catch up on everything. It's been crazy, but they represent so many cool things about professional wrestling, and I feel like they don't need to be ignored in that regard. And of course, I saw Eli Drake's promo, and I was like, man, this guy has it. Eli Drake, he kind of reminds me of Stone Cold a little bit. He kind of has that same vibe, that same mannerisms that Stone Cold has in a way. In terms of like his believability and what he's telling you, it's like a mixture of Stone Cold and The Rock when I hear him cut a promo, and that's the best way that I could describe it. Again, I want to include so much video footage in this, but obviously I don't want to do that because I don't want to get hit with no copyright strikes. I mean, if I do, then hopefully the funds will go to the NWA, and this video or episode can stay up for you guys' entertainment at this time. But yeah, man, it's so much fun when I watch this NWA Power or anything NWA related. And you know what? Who better than to talk about the history behind the NWA, and more specifically the Crockett Cup, than some NWA legends themselves. Hear this clip right here.
Tag team wrestling was primarily the #1 attraction in the Carolinas for 40 years. That's why the decision was made when they came up with the idea for the Crockett Cup Tag Team Tournament to tie the two together. Jim Crockett Sr. pioneered tag team wrestling, and he pioneered wrestling in the Carolinas. And at the same time, he was someone that was deserving of enough respect to name something that prestigious after it.
Standing on the shoulders of giants, Crockett Country is coming alive as we witness the rebirth of the Crockett Cups. Folks here have gathered to witness history in the making. There you see it, the Crockett Cup.
And so, just the fact that Dusty, wore those belts around his waist, Ivan and I, the Rock and Roll, the Midnight, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, you had some pretty legendary guys who wore those belts around their waist.
The Tag Team Championship, a new Tag Team Champion will be crowned here tonight.
It's so big, so obnoxious. Is it good? Over my apartment block. That's when I move in, just put it out the window and hold it out.
This is very turn back the clock. Very, very much like back in the day.
You asked me a while ago, am I still alive?
The NWA has always been this family atmosphere, right? The fans have been first and foremost, always. Back what it meant to them back in the day, sometimes going with their grandparents or their moms, and them. I really get a kick when they bring in their kids, and the kids know the stories and they know these things that happened, 30 plus years ago.
I mean, they're doing a good job. Get the old NWA ring.
Yeah.
It's a great honor to even be asked to be here because we are the 80s.
Folks, they're 5-time NWA World Tag Team Champions. They are the most legendary tag team still active in the game today.
Seeing Ricky and Robert going out and competing competitively in this contest, in this tournament, is like homage to it all.
Please welcome Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express.
Even though if we did get our butts whooped, a hot cup of soup and a good night's sleep, and you gotta do it again tomorrow.
The competition here is not jokes. They're not your backyard wrestler. These are major companies in our business with the best and the greatest talent in the world.
Y'all can try to fight us if me and my brother retire your old asses right here, right now.
Reeling in this match. Look at that! Hurricane Rana! Ricky and Robert! It's 30 years later, but it doesn't seem like it.
And I'm talking about with the Crockett Cup, they're coming from everywhere. The best talent in the world.
We see a belly driver. The front elbow. Look at it this way. Just the fact that they were able to compete at this level in this tournament against a team like the Briscoes, the Rock and Roll Express, this could be one of their crowning achievements.
Wow, you guys. Now that was awesome to see if you're on the YouTube version of this, or to hear if you're listening to the podcast version of this episode. Man, just seeing those legends talk about the history of the NWA and the Crockett Cup and that amazing tournament to determine who truly is the best in this sport. It just gives you chills, you know what I'm saying? And as you guys know, listening to, you know, my show, I love giving respect to the legends and stuff, and just seeing that epic comeback, you know, for the Rock and Roll Express after 30 years, you know, man, it was just heartwarming to see. And those guys can still go like no other. I love the passion, and I love the determination, the grit that the Rock and Roll Express has, you know. And of course, I wasn't born when they was on top in the wrestling world, but my dad, he's a big fan of them. He knows so much about a lot of them old school wrestling legends and stuff, and just hearing Jim Cornette talk about it, it just makes me happy, you know, because he has such a brilliant mind for the wrestling business. He was one of the greatest managers in wrestling history, you know. And so you know, that's what it's all about, you know, is just education, you know. And like Magnum TA had said, you know, seeing the little kids watching what's out there now, or even back then in the olden days, you know, that's what NWA is about, you know. It's about having a good time. It's about escaping, you know, the harsh realities of life and enjoying yourselves. And you know what? And now that we've talked about the history of the past and what the legends brought to the NWA, let's talk about the women's future. You know, let's talk about who's pioneering the women's division in the NWA right now with Allison Kay. But also, look who you see at the beginning of this clip.
This title is not only special, it represents women all the way back from the 1930s. Ladies, let's make history.
Oh man, it's about to go down. Allison Kay is about to show you guys just how great she is. You know, she's showing you that, hey, she's coming to take over. And that is Santana Garrett, I believe, that she's going up against. Look awfully familiar. But wow, look at that devastating double kick knockdown. Uh-oh. Nice handspring thing into the corner. Uh-oh. The guillotine hold. Oh, she probably did too many flips there. Nice clothesline by Allison Kay.
This moment is actually very surreal for me to not only have competed but won a championship that has been around for ages. Mildred Burke once fought for this championship, and now it's held by Allison Kay. That's a very surreal moment.
And my word, you guys, the NWA women's division has came such a long way since then. You know, we've seen a bunch of new faces in the title picture. We've seen Melina. We've seen Thunder Rosa, who's had a tremendous run with the title. And as you can see now, Camille is in the picture. You know, she's been with Nick Aldis and everything, but now she's in the women's title picture, hopefully. Who knows? She might be aligning herself with Thunder Rosa. You just never know, man. And the story that's going on in the NWA women's division it's gonna really surprise you guys. This is gonna be some really good stuff that's gonna happen. We know once things start rolling with, recording the show and everything. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing who's gonna step up, who's gonna be the person to win the NWA Women's World Heavyweight title next. And me personally, I like what Allison Kay did with that women's title. She really brought a lot of class and prestige, and she really helped put the NWA women's division on the map and start getting people to talk about it with her run. And then Thunder Rosa is just taking it from there and make it skyrocket. And now with Melina there, you have a lot of experience. You have someone who knows what she's doing in the ring, who has a lot of experience cutting promos and just traveling up and down the road and going through a lot of the hardships for years to prove herself. And she can help teach a lot of those women who don't have some of the experience like that. She can help show them the ropes and help them become even better, and that's what I like about NWA is they are all a team. And to me, that's what makes me love that brand, that organization. And that was makes me feel like they're gonna bring a lot of class and a lot of prestige back to the professional wrestling world. And it's up to us fans to share their content, to let everyone know that the NWA still exists, that they still have a lot to offer professional wrestling. They're constantly bringing new fresh content. They're constantly stepping their game up to show everyone, just how great they can truly be. And as you can see right here, if you're listening in, if you're watching on YouTube version of this, I like to include visuals here and there because I know some people may like that. Some people may like to listen to the words. But nonetheless, the last big feud that they have, or the current big feud, should I say, that at least that I remember seeing is Nick Aldis versus Marty Scurll, who works in ROH. They worked out some kind of deal with the ROH where they could kind of work together and do some joint shows together. And that's a really good thing because wrestling is at its best when, organizations can work together from time to time where, they can trade talent and, and try to make some big money together because it helps them. It helps the talent. It helps wrestling as a whole stay alive. And to me personally, I just want wrestling to be taken serious again like it was in the 80s and the 90s. And as you can see, there's so much action in that Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll matchup right there at the Crockett Cup tournament or whatever. That was just sick, man. These two are two of the best in the professional wrestling world today. And Nick Aldis, for example, this guy to me represents what a true world champion should be. He can be a heel, he can be a babyface. In my opinion, I think he's better as a heel because you could just truly see, him at his 100% best. He definitely has a lot of Ric Flair vibes to him in terms of his promo style, but he can work like no other, you know what I'm saying? And wow, dude, look at the blood right there. Whoa, dude, these two, Marty Scurll and Nick Aldis, beat the hell out of each other whenever they facing each other. And these two could have many matches together and they'll still be really good, And another thing about NWA is whenever they have a world title match, it really does feel like you're watching a big, sporting event, a big boxing. You know how when you pay $100 or whatever people pay for a boxing show, it gives you that big fight feel. And that's what an NWA world title match, whether it's the men or if it's the women competing, it gives you that vibe. You feel like you're finna watch something truly special. And everyone who's in that ring wrestling, they give you 150 million%. I know I over exaggerated that, but but you could just tell that everyone involved cares, you know, and they don't do a whole lot of dumb shit, you know, in that ring. You know, the ring psychology is on point whenever you're watching an NWA wrestling matchup. And I even like that we saw Scott Steiner. He aligned himself with Nick Aldis and everything. And that was really cool just to see him for a brief moment. And then, of course, you know, Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll, you know, they ended up interacting with each other again at one of them ROH shows and stuff. And I really do feel like we got a lot more good things to see from these particular guys. And then Camille, she's just special in her own right, you know. This woman right here is a talent of her own. She can hold her own in the ring with anybody, even the guys. You know, Camille does not play around. She's the blonde lady for those of you who may be listening in. But you definitely want to be on the lookout for that. You know, and I just can't wait, you know, to see what's next for the NWA as far as the NWA Power show. I want to see who else is going to step up and, you know, become the world champion, or at least try to attempt to take Nick Aldis' world heavyweight title. And I like Ricky Starks. He's a really great talent as well. You saw him at the very beginning of this episode. If you're watching the YouTube version, you'll see him at the beginning of that little graphic that I posted. But man, it's just a whole lot of passion in just everything that, you know, Ricky Starks can do. You know, he's a great up and coming star you want to keep your eyes on. I would even love to see, you know, Eli Drake versus Nick Aldis. You talk about big money matchup, you gotta put those two in the ring together on a big time pay-per-view. I don't know how that will happen or when it's gonna happen, but I can see that as, you know, I can see that as a big matchup, you know, for the near future for NWA. And with that being said, you know, I really enjoy just taking a trip down memory lane, you know, with the NWA and showing you guys some of the history and showing you guys what's going on currently in the NWA. And I really hope that you all, especially if you're a true diehard wrestling fan, you know, or even if you don't watch wrestling like that, but you're just looking for something action-packed, something to take your mind off of what's going on in the world today, then definitely give NWA Power a chance. You know, subscribe to their YouTube channel, hit the notification bell there, and what I do is I'll include their link in my bio so you can go and check out what they got on there, because they're constantly giving us really fun things to watch right now until they can, you know, get things back up and rolling again due to the Wabaka virus, because that's what I'm going to call it. I don't want to get hit, but I don't want you to attack this video by using the real name. And, you know, I hope that you all enjoyed this episode. It was really fun just taking the time and create it. And if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you like the visual graphics and everything that I put in there. And if you're listening to the podcast version, I hope that you like the sound quality. I'm open to all kinds of feedback. I will have the Beyond Wrestling Podcast email in the description of whatever platform you're listening to this episode on. So, you know, if you want to leave some feedback, if you want to you know, give me episode ideas or any kind of, you know, suggestions, or if you simply just want a shout out, let me know. Send it into that email, and I will definitely put that in the next episode of Beyond Wrestling. I don't know what's gonna happen next. I might start season 2 of this show because we've had 14 episodes. Yeah, so we had 14 episodes, and that's really crazy, you know. I wanted to try to stay consistent. It does take some time to put these together, especially if they're like theme type episodes, like, you know, more specific, you know, topics at hand or whatever. So season 2 is going to be really, really fun, and I look forward to covering some really big things on that season as well. You know, some old school wrestling stuff, because I think, you know, there's enough people talking about the modern day stuff, and I will still talk about some modern day wrestling stuff, but I want to talk about some more old school stuff, and more specifically my thought process of those things when they happened back in the day, because I was a child. So it's gonna be really fun, and you know, it's just gonna be a great time, and I hope that I can just take you guys' mind off of what's going on and everything, and just make sure you guys just stay tuned, hit the notification bell, follow me on my social media and hit the notification bell there. That way you won't miss when a new episode drops, because who knows, man. You know what I'm saying? But thank you all for listening in on this episode of Beyond Wrestling, where I talked about the rise of NWA Power. And now I think I'm gonna let a wrestling manager, I'm gonna let a legend like Jim Cornette, I'm gonna let him send us home on this particular episode. Anyways, you guys, be blessed, watch out for each other. If you can, try to help somebody else out if you got the resources. This is Giorgio, your friendly neighborhood YouTuber / podcaster, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.
But the NWA's never gone away, because it can't really. It's a concept.
Champion of the world, Hardy Race.
The NWA for wrestling, to me and for a lot of people who grew up over the past 40 or 50 years as wrestling fans, the NWA is like Coke or Kleenex. It's a trade name. Identified with the greatest in pro wrestling.